Hello, Blaine Gray at Plastering Beginners, and today we're going to be looking at a new primer that I've been involved with, and I must say that it's probably the best primer that I'm using at the moment. Beats PVA and it's 10 times better than Bluegrit. Let's talk about it. It's going to be a short video, we're not going to go too far into it. I've got a previous plastered wall here. I'm going to be applying it directly to this. Now the good thing about this product, it has a grit in the system but it's not too thick. Unlike Bluegrit, where for me is very overpowering. This is very minimal. Now the product we're talking about is called Bondit Plasterers Pre-Grit. It's yellow in colour and it has a tiny bit of texture, like I say, in the product, but it's very minimal, which means when you're applying the plaster you haven't got to apply a big depth to it. Now that's what I really like about this product, and the fact it is thinner. It's going to take a lot short amount of time to dry. From the company Bondit, I'm just really enjoying this primer at the moment. Unlike PVA where you've got to use 2 coats, this is just a 1 coat system. You apply it directly to any wall. You can even apply it onto tiles. That's when I used it last. I'm going to roll it directly onto the wall. I'm going to see how long it takes to dry. Then we're going to plaster it and see the differences from this to Bluegrit. Because Bluegrit, in my opinion, is probably one of the most overrated products out there. That sounds harsh, but I'm just going to use this system compared to the Bluegrit. And we're going to see how they both compare. Now, because it's thinner, it travels so much further, so you're going to get a bigger coverage out of it. And again, it's a thinner product. It doesn't take as long as Bluegrit to dry. It will be dry in a lot shorter amount of time. Which again is something I love. Go. Let me show you the texture here. So you can see it has a bit of texture in it, but it's very fine. It's almost like it's plastering sand. In my opinion, perfect. Just the amount of grit needed for plaster. Okay, so it's been 3 hours and it is dry. There's no grit coming off and it's ready to go. So it's fast curing, considering Bluegrit advised 24 hours. I don't actually know when this happened, but I reckon it would have been done in about 2. Because it's such a thin product, the drying time is so much quicker. So that is now ready to be plastered on. So we're going to apply the first coat of plaster to this pre-grit. And I'm just going to show you the difference between this and Bluegrit. So, put it on. Now, because the texture is so fine, it doesn't take a huge amount of plaster to get it on the wall. So, what I find with Bluegrit is you might get a lot of grit still showing through the plaster. With this, is not much of that problem. The other thing is this minimises bubbling. What I find when you are working on Bluegrit, because the grit is so thick, it allows the bit more air to get between the plaster, which traps the bubbles, and you get this little bubble effect running through. Now I find with this pre-grit you don't get that and it eliminates the need for it. So at the moment the application stage for me is so much better than Bluegrit, just because you don't feel the grit shining through and you don't need the plaster to be as thick. So in my opinion, already this stage is looking a bit better. So I've applied the first coat, there's no grit shining through. That is a nice solid first coat. It's hanging nicely. There's no dry patches, no areas that are pulling in at different points. Just a nicely uniform wall. Now we're going to apply the second coat, see how it goes. There's no real thickness added to the second coat there. It's nothing showing. We don't have to worry about adding a nice second coat that's too thick. I find with Bluegrit you're adding 2 thick layers of plaster and sometimes even a bit of the grit will still shine through, but this is none of that. Second coat, nice and tight, thin, nothing to worry about. And that's why this pre-grit is so much better than Bluegrit in my opinion. And the hang time is amazing. It just allows your plaster to sit without worrying it going off at different stages, with different backgrounds if you're working on. This is a must because it just holds all of the wall together at the same time. Thanks for watching. It's Blaine Gray, Plastering Beginners here. If you want to watch a video on Bluegrit, click this and then you can do a side-by-side comparison. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button there, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.